Some roads aren't built, they bleed into the world. Just before dusk, one of them revealed itself on the edge of nowhere. Narrow, brick-laid, half-swallowed by weeds. The sky above looked bruised and swollen, and the wind that rushed across the empty highway carried the faint taste of iron. A lone car rolled to a stop, its headlights slicing through the fog. The driver stepped out, boots crunching on gravel, camera bag slung over one shoulder. Silence stretched in every direction, thick enough to feel. Ahead, the side road curved into darkness where a half-rotted sign leaned forward as if trying to speak. The words were nearly gone, just a memory etched into wood. Graven Hollow. The bricks were slick beneath his tires as the car crept forward. Fog rose from the ditches in twisting shapes, wrapping itself around the vehicle like breath from something alive. The GPS flickered, then died. The phone screen drained to black. Even the radio refused to hum. Each passing yard felt older than the one before. The air heavier, colder, stranger. When the trees finally opened, the headlights revealed a small town square that shouldn't have existed, preserved in uncanny detail, glowing faintly under gas lamps that hissed without flame. Cobblestone streets curved around a fountain green with age. Shop signs hung perfectly straight. The windows of a bakery were fogged with warmth, silhouettes moving inside as if trapped behind glass. A drugstore glimmered chrome bright, its soda fountain pristine and waiting. The air smelled sweet, sugar, lemon oil, and the faint burn of something that once turned to ash. Then came movement. People. Women in calico dresses crossed the street, their smiles too wide, their laughter rehearsed. Men in hats tipped their brims and held the gesture too long. Faces stretched with the effort of kindness. Children bounced rubber balls that made no sound when they hit the ground. Everything looked alive, but nothing felt breathing. A voice drifted through the fog. "Welcome," it said, close enough to smell flour and smoke. A woman stood near the fountain, basket on her arm, curls pinned in a style 2 generations too old. Her smile was carved in porcelain calm. "You're just in time." "For what?" "Founders Day," she said, eyes still and unblinking. Behind her, a poster peeled from a shop window. Founders Day, October 21st, 1975. The date clawed at the air. The same day, 50 years gone. The boarding house took his money without questions. The wallpaper crawled with ivy patterns that never ended. The room smelled faintly of starch and pennies and damp wood. When the bed sagged under weight, it sounded almost grateful. Downstairs, dinner waited on porcelain plates. Fried chicken, mashed potatoes, peas too green to be natural. The waitress poured coffee without looking up, wrists pale and raw. As she turned away, her voice dropped to a whisper. "Be careful at midnight." Then she was gone. Outside, a boy bounced a red ball. The sound dulled like fabric on flesh. The ball rolled across the street and stopped at the stranger's boot. When it was handed back, the boy's fingers were cold, skin smooth as glass. "We always stop living at midnight," he said. The words clung to the air like frost before he vanished into the fog. Curiosity turned into compulsion. The library waited at the edge of the square, its windows dark, its door unlocked. Inside, dust floated like ash in the beam of a single lamp. The librarian moved behind the counter, her face oddly smooth, her voice unnecessary. She gestured toward a drawer of microfilm. Inside lay headlines older than time itself. One reel spun, stuttering, humming faintly with static until a headline blinked into view. "Fire devours Graven Hollow. All residents dead." The date read, October 21st, 1975. The photograph beneath the words showed the very same square consumed by fire. Flames swallowed rooftops, faces blurred into shadow. The same bakery, the same oak tree, the same fountain that still gurgled outside. The hands holding the film trembled. Heat seemed to rise from the image itself. The clock on the library wall ticked toward midnight. Outside, the bell tower began to toll. The first scream tore the quiet apart. Flames erupted from the bakery windows, orange and furious. Smoke bled through the streets, the air filled with the stench of sugar melting into death. People moved through the chaos, but wrong. stuttering, looping, repeating the same motions like puppets tied to invisible strings. A woman clawed at a locked door that refused to open. A man pounded his fists against the window, knuckles cracking like matches. Every street led back to the same square, every corner folding in on itself. The oak tree blazed, its sign dripping molten letters into the cobblestone. And then, silence. Morning. The town stood perfect again. No scorch marks, no smoke. The bakery window unbroken, loaves neatly lined. The only evidence was a raw burn across the newcomer's collarbone shaped exactly like a camera strap. Every attempt to leave ended the same way. The road twisted back, landmarks repeated, the sheriff smiling with too many teeth. "You're heading the right way," he said, voice syrup slow. On the third day, a photograph appeared in the general store window. Founders Day 1975, a smiling crowd, the sheriff, the librarian, the boy with the bottle green eyes, and on the far right, mid-laugh, stood a face that didn't belong there yet undeniably did. The stranger himself, caught forever in sepia light, the scar under his chin, the same half-smile. The shopkeeper wrapped soap in brown paper, humming. "Big night tonight," she said, cheerful, detached. The photograph ripped easily from the frame, tearing with the sound of wet paper and skin. It burned in his pocket like a pulse. Night fell again, deliberate and slow. Lanterns flared to life along Main Street. The bakery displayed perfect loaves. The sheriff polished his badge until it reflected nothing. The air thickened, tasting faintly of gasoline. Running changed nothing. Every alley ended where it began. The town folded tighter. When the first bell struck 12, fire licked the rooftops once more. Gentle at first, almost affectionate, before devouring everything in sight. Paint blistered. Glass wept. People screamed and smiled through the flames. Across the square, the tower glowed with a new plaque. Founders Day 1975, Marco Ruiz. The engraving shimmered, still wet, as if carved by unseen hands. Knees hit cobblestone. The air pulsed with heat, heartbeat for heartbeat. Whispers filled the air, one voice becoming hundreds, overlapping, chanting the same promise. We always stop living at midnight. Morning again. The room identical. The burn faded to a pale scar. The mirror reflected a face stretched just slightly wrong, as though someone else had worn it too long. Downstairs, every smile mirrored his own. Words slipped from his mouth unbidden. Good morning. Lovely day. Big night tonight. The townsfolk answered in perfect chorus. By the oak tree, sunlight pooled thick as syrup. A low hum grew on the horizon, the sound of tires on brick, an engine slowing. A car emerged through the fog, dust trailing behind like smoke from another fire. A man stepped out, eyes curious, camera bag over his shoulder. The same look of restless hunger. The town seemed to hold its breath. Across the square, Marco, no longer the outsider, watched the newcomer with quiet certainty. The cobblestones counted his footsteps as he approached, every echo perfectly measured. He stopped at the edge of the fountain, smile smooth and practiced. "Welcome," he said. "You're just in time." The traveler frowned. For what? Marco's gaze lifted to the banner already strung between lampposts, the letters glinting gold in the morning light. Somewhere, unseen, a match scraped against stone. Smoke curled in the distance, patient. "For Founders Day," he whispered. And as the clock inside the tower began its slow, steady climb toward midnight, the people of Graven Hollow smiled their perfect smiles once more, waiting, polite, eternal, ready to burn again. If this story made your skin crawl, hit the like button, share it with someone who craves eerie mysteries, and subscribe for more haunted tales that linger long after the screen fades to black. Because in some towns, the past never stops burning.